So I just watched the latest Charmed episode this morning. I had to work late last night. Episode 4, Deconstructing Harry, and I was right! Okay, I'm done. Hi guys, my name is Maria Park, and this is Approach the Nerd. And in this episode, we are talking about Charmed Season 2, Episode 4, Deconstructing Harry. So we're not going to go like a play-by-play of the episode because I don't like doing that all the time and it does make the video very long. But I am going to point out some new things that we have noticed. But before I do that, I must say, my theories were proven right. At least 2 of them were so far. Well, technically 3. The first one was, I said in a previous review, I believe that Abigail was the demon overlord. And she's the demon overlord. I didn't trust that heifer. I knew there was something off about her. And it's interesting that they did reveal in this episode that she's also the daughter of Alistair Kane and the sister of Hunter, which makes her the half-sister also of Parker. The only survivor besides her in the Kane line, I guess. But yeah, that for me was a little bit of a, oh, that's cool. Because, of course, the Charmed ones killed them. So, yeah. But yeah, I just knew. I just knew. It was the way the demon looked at her before they killed him in the previous episodes. Or episode 2. And he said, oh, it's you. Now, her reasoning being that the demon world is still kind of sexist, and so she pretended to be the overlord because it gave her clout, pretending to be a demon with a penis. That was interesting, meaning the demon world, I guess, is not woke. But yeah, she's a demon overlord. Another thing that I didn't see coming was the fact that now I knew that the overlord and the demons did kill the witches, or the 2 witches in the bed and breakfast. But she basically confirmed she did it because she was also attacked by doppelganger Harry. Which brings me to my second theory that was proven correctly. Or correct. So I said in my previous video where we talked about my thoughts on Harry, you can check that, I'll put it at the end of the video, so you can link and I'll put it below. I said that I thought in this universe of Charmed, the way Dark Lighters were created was, when a person is dying and they're given the option to become a White Lighter, every human being has good and evil in them. And so, being that a White Lighter is the embodiment of good, almost an angel, where does the darkness naturally in man go? It splits, and they become a Dark Lighter. So you have it's basically yin and yang, which makes sense because every magical series, movie, book I've ever read, there has to be a balance between good and evil. Even OG Charm talks about a balance between good and evil. So it makes sense that if you have an all pure good White Lighter, you have to have the doppelganger, which would be the all pure evil. The only catch is that I think that both of them have the hots for Macy. And that's just my personal opinion. It's what I've been seeing, even in this episode where they're coming up with the Hut 8 word, as a safe word so she knows who, the real Harry is. She based it off of, basically a British intelligence, basically a password for the Germans. That whole thing there. She could have had any safe word ever. But she chose something British because Harry is British and she knew he would like it. It's so cute. I am such a Macy and Harry. What are they calling it? Are they calling it Hasty? I don't know. I'm such a fan. Okay, so moving on. So with those 2 theories out of the way, my third one was that the Book of Elders has more than Latin and Greek. I'm going to say what I kind of knew that only because, as I said in the first season of Charmed, we had the elders were different nationalities. We had the lady that was helping Macy with her demon powers and remembering things. She was Indian. So it makes sense that the book would not just have Greek and Latin because the elders were not just Greek and Latin. So, you know what I mean? So it makes sense. But interestingly, when Harry was talking to, Macy about translating the book, he mentions Coptic, which is Egyptian. And the reason that stood out to me is because we're dealing with Jordan right now. Jordan is a mystery. His family is the Chase family. They're the first black family to settle in the area. What I find interesting is that by mentioning Coptic, because in Charm, it seems like they always have an Easter egg for something. We may have been opening up ourselves up to Egyptian magic through Jordan. Because we don't know where his family actually reigns from. He never said. They could be from Barbados. They could be from, any part of the continent of Africa. Egypt is the northeastern end of the continent of Africa. So there's a good chance they could be Egyptian. He wears a ring on his finger, which could be a magical ring. It could be a protection ring. It could be a symbol of an Egyptian family. We don't know. I mean, it would be pretty awesome if he was the reincarnation of a pharaoh. Got some Yu-Gi-Oh stuff going on. It's just cool. So Jordan's definitely magical. I've said it before. There's some connection to his family. Potentially with the Salem witch trials. I don't know. There were a lot of slaves that were also involved. If you read the history of the Salem witch trials, one of the most famous slaves, I think her name was Mary Black or something like that. I'll Google it. But Mary Black, she was actually the last slave, the last person physically to almost go on trial. Like her trial was going to start for the Salem witch trials right when the governor at the time decreed that Salem witch trials were over. Now, I am in my early 40s. I studied a lot in school, but I haven't been out of school for a very long time. So this is all from memory. I don't know if that's 100% correct. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I encourage that. If you don't agree with something I say in these videos, I encourage that as well. Please. I love conversation as long as it's respectful, because I will block you if you aren't. Moving on. So, yeah, my theory on Jordan is his family could actually be Egyptian. That's one angle. I'm probably going to expand on that. I'm thinking he could be a pharaoh. He could be somebody, or his family could be from some magical sector of Egypt. They could be something entirely different. He could be a magical creature. There was a lot of magical creatures in this episode. We had the Kions. We saw the Queen of the Banshees. Harry's doppelganger was collecting them, the leaders of all of the magical creatures in the realm. He's just putting them in these little, Resident Evil-like tubes, chronic, cybernetic, or no. What do they do when they freeze you? It went out of my head, but it'll come to me. But he has them in these tubes, and he's monitoring their health, and he's like the Collector. If you watch, any of the Marvel movies or you read any Marvel comics, he's like the Collector. Because, it makes sense. If you have Harry who's all good, he's all evil. So he's a hunter, because that's how he gets all that evil out. So the premise of the episode is them trying to find doppelganger, hunter, assassin, Harry. And they track him to this little place in Montana, this little out of the way, nowhere, podunk little town in Montana. If you live there, I'm sorry. But they find his facility. They're out. They basically have their first interaction with the skinwalkers or the Kions, and they're not allowed to move. And only Macy has her powers, because even though they take Abigail with them, they don't trust her. So they have a power. One of the bracelets that basically makes it so you can't use your power, your demonic powers, or I guess any powers. So Macy's pretty much the only firepower, literally, that they have. But they do find the facility. They do. They don't find Harry immediately, so they do leave and go back to the house, because they bring Abigail to their house, and they make a potion to basically track the Kion Queen. And the reason they want to track the Kion Queen is because they think it'll lead to doppelganger Harry, which it might. I'm not saying it will, but it might. So they do that. But Mel, who's feeling very insecure about not having powers at this point, she takes the potion, not knowing what the effects would be. It could have killed her, but she feels so ineffective. I think she even makes a comment about being a fanny pack witch, basically, running around with her potions that half work and half don't. So she feels like she's not contributing. So that was her way of contributing, and she was it basically allowed her to see or become, a Kion or Kion Queen, or whatever link she had to the Kion Queen that allowed them to basically go back there. But they still didn't find Harry. Mel, still under the influence of the potion, was able to free the Kion Queen, and eventually all of the creatures start coming out. And they're very grateful, and, as the potion wears off, they realize, okay, these other creatures are coming out, what are we going to do? This is where it's a little weird for me. Macy decides to, in the process of them freeing the creatures, trying to find Harry, doppelganger Harry, to distract the Kion Queen who come out of the tube. But I don't know why, because, so she takes the bracelet off of Abigail, so Abigail's making this fireball, and I do understand that Abigail's powers are stronger than Macy's, but Macy has pretty impressive fire ability at this point. But she decides to go and distract the queen and just separates her from from Mel, Maggie, and Abigail, allowing doppelganger Harry to come in. And so the girls are thinking, oh, Harry's here, he's going to get Macy. So they use the black, marble, whatever we're calling it, to go back to the house or command center, wherever they go. And Harry takes off with Macy. But Macy already came up with a code word. And she said code word, and he didn't tell her. I know he didn't know what the code word was. But what could she possibly do? He's already there with you with his hands on you. Of course he's going to teleport. So it's like they set it up for her to be kidnapped, basically. I mean, every decision in that moment was set up for her to be kidnapped by Harry. From the moment in the very second scene of the show, we knew Macy was going to be kidnapped, or at least have an encounter with Harry, because why else mention the code word? Because charm does not do anything if it's not intentional. So I'm always looking at Easter eggs. Sometimes they pan out, sometimes they don't. But yeah, I knew that was going to happen. And I think the biggest thing with that is, I think that evil Harry does like or love Macy. So I think that's his one weakness, is I think he does have a thing for her. Even though he tried to kill them in the beginning, I think he does have a thing for Macy. So that's one thing they probably couldn't separate, is emotions that way, like who they love. So yeah, we'll see where that goes. Maggie, interestingly enough, and I'm saying this because they've always tried to separate themselves from the OG Charmed, but she's starting to have season 1 of Phoebe powers. Like, they're not calling it premonition, she's calling it like foresight. But she touched Jordan while they were talking, and she saw a vision of him saying he loved her. And yeah, so she's getting premonitions basically. And she did mention that she also could hear and feel what he was saying in the premonitions. I don't remember if Phoebe did that. It's possible. I'll have to go back. I own the whole series. I'll have to go back and look, because that was literally season 1. So I'll have to go back and see if when she started having her premonitions, if she mentions, oh, I can also feel and their emotions and how they feel in those moments. She probably does, but I just don't remember it. So if you remember it before I have a chance to look it up, please let me know. But it's interesting that the youngest one is starting to get premonition powers. So I don't know if that means Mel's going to start being able to blow things up, accelerate time to blow where it looks like she's taking the molecules apart, because she was a true definition time witch. Piper had the ability to freeze, but she's really slowing the molecules in your body, or slowing the molecules in the atmosphere around you, making you're still moving, but it's so slow it's not seen by the human eye. But Mel actually stops time, and she was actually able to age things and de-age things. So that was kind of a difference. I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, they're both cool, obviously, but I just thought that was neat. I don't know what they'll do with Mel's power. I mean, she could go back to the explosions like Piper, develop an ability to not only accelerate time, accelerate till it combusts or until it explodes or whatever. So that'll be interesting. I know Mel's probably going to be the last one to get her powers because she wants them the most, and that's normally what happens. But yeah, so we have that. But the whole time, Maggie's thinking that she's getting the visions by touching Jordan, which she has a thing for Jordan. And we also learned that Jordan has a girlfriend, a live-in girlfriend. So the vision she was having was the girlfriend basically finding his keys and bringing them. Because he left them in the bathroom. So either he's living with her or she's living with him, or maybe he's just over her place, or vice versa the entire time. I don't know. But he has a girlfriend. And Maggie does not look too happy about it. So back to Harry, in the episode, Maggie and Harry decode a spell. I think it was Tetris. And basically a spider appears out of the Book of Elders and then goes to a compartment where there's like bills, there's a magical driver's license, and then there's a brochure for the Tulip Institute, which is where we meet Helen when Harry goes there, under the guise of Alex Graves. It says his name is Alex Graves. I really feel like I should look that up, but I don't know what that is. But I'm going to find out, so I may do another video. But under the guise of Alex Graves, he goes and visits her and finds out that she is a white lighter. But as he's leaving her, because somewhere in the book it says that white lighters were created at great cost, hence what I said earlier about my theory. One of the nurses in the institute says that her sister is down the hall. And when you go to see the sister, it's basically her doppelganger, her dark lighter. So that to me was like, yes, I knew that's where they were going with that. So of course that's how they make dark lighters. But that reconfirmed it to me that that is how dark lighters are created in this version of Charmed. So I'm super excited about that. But yeah, so Harry now has a big mystery to solve. He knows that he has a dark lighter. He knows the doppelganger is him. Of course, he's going to feel guilty because it's Harry. You know, by me choosing to become a white lighter, I unleashed evil on the world. It's exactly what I said is going to happen in my theory. I know that's what's going to happen because he's such a kind-hearted person that that is what's going to happen with Harry. I don't know how they're going to get Macy back. The preview looks ominous. I don't know what's going to go on with Jordan's. I really think we're going to see a lot more with Jordan because he wears that ring all the time. I don't know where Katrina was in this episode because she was still seeing the worms in her drawer, you know, in the store after their meditation session. So I think the next time we see her, she may be in a rough place. So that should be interesting. I love how they name dropped both Parker and Nico in the episode with Mel saying that they need to stay away from them or the people they love will die or kill them or try to kill them, basically. We know from New York Comic Con that some of the old people from the past or season 1 are going to be coming into season 2, and I am praying Parker and Nico are on that list. I know both of them are involved in other projects, but that means nothing because we have a lot of actors who did double roles on series. So I'm really hoping we see them because I freaking love Nico and Mel, even though she's got the love interest in Katrina. But she seems to have a type. I am married to a Korean-American biological woman, so I seem to have a type too. So I get the attraction to Asians, even though that's not my intent, not my full attraction. But yeah, I can see why she's completely, going down that route. But I don't know. A lot of people are really, really, like, I was talking to a friend today, and they were like, I really love seeing Abigail and Mel together. And I'm like, fire and ice, I could see that volatile relationship turning into something. It would be an interesting plot. That would be the real Cole and Phoebe of this episode if it was Mel and Abigail getting together. But I don't know if they're going to do that. So it would be an interesting twist, though. They did. But yeah, so I am literally here for all of it. I have lots of theories. I really want to hear your theories because I love these discussions. You guys have been really great at telling me what you think is going to happen. And a lot of the stuff you've been saying has also carried on to the episodes. So I'm so proud. But please let me know what you think below. And if you would like to sign up for jury duty, hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to know who's next on the nerd ballot, hit the notification bell. Until next time, I can't wait for you to approach the nerd. Bye, guys. And if you have time, make sure to check out some of our other videos.